Um, Yay! I'm successfully live on both platforms. Welcome to my regular Thursday afternoon studio stream. My name is Rachel. On YouTube, this is running on my channel, La Bricoleuse on IGTV. Um, I will say that today I'm not certain about the how the viewing quality is going to be on IGTV today. It's going to be great on YouTube with the broad landscape view. But even more so than usual, hey, welcome! I see people are joining me on both platforms. Um, Today we're going to be looking at this rabbit head, which we looked at in last week's stream as well. Um, as you can see, I have now put one ear onto him, and he's large. Like, the capacity, the view screen of YouTube is great. We've got a good view on him. You know, he can fit into that landscape wonderfully. He's really too big for IGTV. But, you know, if you want to sign on to both platforms, you'll be able to see better on YouTube. But I often have a more active chat among the folks on IGTV. Whatever works for you. I'm just going to be working on this guy today, and I can be conscious of the framing of the shots on YouTube a whole lot better than I can on IGTV. Hi, welcome! Arlene has shown up on IGTV. Sometimes she also shows up on YouTube. So today, in addition to working on this rabbit head, let me position him so his ear is not right in my face. In addition to working on this rabbit head, today's stream is basically I'm participating in the Corsetry in Motion challenge that is being hosted by the a group of costumers who also have YouTube channels about costume topics called Costube, Costube. And I am a member of Costube, as are many others. And we are hosting a symposium in August. It's, I wrote it over here. It's August 19th through 22nd. And it's going to be video content that gets uploaded that weekend. There will also be live video streams, panel discussions, premieres where the video is uploaded, but you can watch it along with the creator in the chat. And it's free to anybody who has access to YouTube. So, like, even if you don't have a YouTube account, you can follow the hashtag and watch some of the videos. Not only during the weekend, well, protracted weekend, 19th through 22nd, not only during that date range, but videos will stay up indefinitely unless the creator takes them down, and the streams will post to YouTube to be watched after the fact. So it's really wonderful symposium that is sort of a great equalizer in that you don't have to be able to financially afford to travel or even membership to get access to the content. And there are many different channels that are participating with different foci. Like, I am a theatrical costumer who primarily does costume crafts. There's a guy who does Viking recreation. There are people who do historical sewing, and they follow the methodology that was done at the time of the costume. There are cosplayers, there are history bounders, people who do living history from all different eras of time. I see Arlene saying on YouTube, do you find that using human eyes as opposed to animal eyes makes these animal heads more or less creepy? I'm glad you brought that up, because I have some serious reservations about the eye that's happening here on my rabbit head. originally I made this rabbit head back in 2008, and it was part of a symposium that I went to on creating creature heads and mascot heads. And this was one method that they showed us for creating the eyes. And so I followed that to see how it worked. And in the intervening time, especially since I've had him back out and been working with him again, I find his eye is very human. You are correct. And I find that somewhat creepy right now. I mean, we're looking at just the structure of his head. So like I have ordered fur that will then cover this once both of his fuzzy ears are on. But I've been also thinking about how I could rework this eye to make it seem less creepy, because this is currently not a rabbit eye. This is more like a human eye. And I gotta say, I'm not a fan, like, right now. But that's, like, way down the road thing to do. Today, I'm going to be putting this ear on him. But first, I want to mention that the other portion of this video that relates to the costume symposium and that whole group of folks is occasionally we will do challenges where several people will make a video all in a similar theme, and there'll be a hashtag and a playlist, and it's fun. And the one that I'm participating in today, it's a hashtag corsetry in motion. And Arlene asks, is the Viking guy the Welsh Viking? And yes, he is. Check his channel out if you haven't already. He recently ran a 5K, I think it was, in full armor to raise money for LGBTQIA causes. Really a great guy. But the challenge I'm participating in today is corsetry in motion, in which different costumers create videos of themselves wearing a corset and then doing some activity that proves that you can wear a corset and do all kinds of physical activities. I guess this was inspired by a bunch of negative press that came out about people claiming that they had been injured by their corsets, or that they were incapable of wearing them while doing the things that they were doing. And in most cases, it was actors working in historical film. And there was a great rebuttal video because the challenge was like, don't be such a wimp initially, I think. That the actresses were saying that they were discomfited by wearing corsets. And you'll notice I'm wearing a corset today. You can see it better on YouTube than you can on IGTV, but you can see the busk loops here in the front, these steel nail head closures. There was a great video by a woman who's a film costumer, and basically sort of defending the actresses who had gotten some bad press because they legitimately did not have a good time wearing the corsets that they had to wear for historical films. But actors don't wear corsets in their everyday life at all, and it can be hard to get used to a restrictive garment that completely reshapes your form. And when you add that into the fact that the filming schedule does often involve you get into costume and you stay in it and stand around on a film set and do strenuous activities 5 times in a row to get the right take. And maybe it's super hot outside even though you're supposed to be filming in winter. So you're wearing a coat and you're supposed to act cold even though it's 80 degrees. Or vice versa, you're unclad in winter temperatures. And basically, this video that one of the costumers made about it was saying, like, cut him some slack, because filming is hard work, and it's extra hard work in a restrictive shaper garment that you don't normally wear. But that is not at all to undermine the challenge, which has some great videos that I highly recommend you finding the playlist. I believe I'm putting it into the description of the video on this stream on YouTube. So after the video uploads at the end of the stream, you can check it out. There's one woman who does aerial silks while wearing a corset, and a couple of people who go hiking, a person who does a pole dancing routine while wearing a corset. I mean, the innovative stuff. Oh, and a yoga teacher who does her, or a woman who practices yoga, who does her whole yoga routine wearing a corset. There's a lot of really interesting experimental stuff. And so I decided I was going to participate by streaming in a corset, because I don't really perform. I'm not a dancer. I'm not an athlete. I don't do a lot of things like that, but I do own several corsets, and I thought streaming in a corset is a challenge because I'm about to make a rabbit head, or I'm in the process of making a rabbit head. So let me show you how I'd like to get started on that. Let me show you. I put this one ear on him, which you can see this great on YouTube right now. The thing that you should notice, I guess, structurally about the rabbit head, who last time had no ears and looked more like a brontosaurus or something, some sort of dinosaur than a rabbit, is that when I put the ear on here, it didn't just cut a slit and feed it in there as a flat plane. The ear has some complex curvature to it. It is actually an L-shaped slot in the head here that you can see. I've marked the other one out here with magic marker so that I know where to cut away my Variform. Variform is the name of this product that the mask, the skull structure really is formed of. And that link is also going to be in the description of this theme. Artstuff.com, artstuf.com, is the website for Douglas and Sturgis, which is the vendor that I purchase Variform from. It's a thermoplastic medium. It's a casting mesh for mobilizing broken limbs, but we use it in making mascot heads and fursuit heads, character costumes, things like that, because the mesh has been impregnated with a thermoplastic. So you heat it up and then you mold it over something and it cools down and it becomes rabbit shaped or whatever shaped. It sticks to itself. It's great for creating seams between two pattern pieces of the topography. You can see on this cheek here where I didn't cut my pattern piece large enough, and this cheek has, you see that little hole? I'll put my finger through from the back. Well, that's easier said than done, huh? I guess there it is. I can stick my pinky through it a little bit here. You can see where that is. That hole is because I didn't have enough overlap allowance on the piece that covers his cheek bulge. But I'm going to cut out this L shape from my Variform and then insert my other ear down in it, which right now this ear is two-dimensional. It's flat. And I talked about how this ear has complex curvature to it now, in that it's bent at an angle down here, so it makes the plane of the ear want to curve as it goes up a bit. And then this one is bent forward, and this one probably will be too. But first, let's look at the structure of this ear, because I've gotten to a certain point in constructing it that it's worth looking at, in case you care. I see that Trisha has joined Creative Costume Academy over on IGTV, and welcome. It's great to see you. I recently interviewed Trisha for my Costume Professionals interview series that actually premieres on Monday with a cosplayer. I interviewed Denise Chukina of Skeleton Key Cosplay. She makes a lot of different fandoms of cosplay professionally on commission for people who want to have cosplay made to measure in their favorite character slash fandom, whatever. She has been specializing a lot in the Star Wars universe lately, but she makes all kinds of things, animes and various fandoms. Anyway, that's Monday. Check it out. The ear is based on the structure of buckram hats in millinery. Like when you make a hat with buckram, you have the buckram foundation that you then attach wire to wherever you want extra stability, and you often cover that wire with bias tape, sometimes called French elastic, no fold bias, so that you have fabric smoothing that wire and also providing a place that you could whip stitch to once you put your mulling, ice wool or baby flannel to add some loft, and then your fashion fabric. So anyway, if you know about making buckram hats, then how I explain this ear is going to sound really familiar to you. So this ear, foundationally, it is 2 pieces of craft foam, which that's a microcell foam that you can buy it at like Michael's Crafts or Ben Franklin or Hobby Lobby if you shop there. I don't. 2 layers of 1/8 of an inch thick, so it's almost 1/4 of an inch thick now, and they are. I don't think I adhered them together. No, I can stick my finger in between there, but they're sort of riding together. And then I cut the ear shape out of that double layer of foam. And you can see it here where the fur comes away. There's wire along the edge, millinery wire. And I used French elastic, which is like a no-fold 1-inch bias tape, and covered that edge, which you can see really well how I did that because I did it with red or pink, a colored contrast thread so you can see it. And so that's what's in here. We have a wired edge. The wire goes around the whole perimeter. I have a leg sticking off on this side, and I didn't leave that here. And I kind of wish I did now because I had a leg of wire on both sides of my first ear, and that worked really good putting it in. But we'll see how it goes. And then it's covered with some of this faux fur. It's a low pile. I have a piece of it down here. If you can see that. It's a low pile, like maybe 3/8 of an inch deep, very dense, bright pink. And that covers the whole back of the ear and then wraps around to the front. And I am usually in millinery. I do not get behind hot glue unless there's an absolute emergency reason to use it, because then if you have to change something or move your trim or whatever, like it's really hard to undo hot glue without leaving something that looks like boogers behind. But I hot glued this baby because I'm not going to unmake this ear and turn it into a different ear shape. Like, the rabbit is the rabbit. Once he exists, he exists. And I don't actually have a reason to be making this rabbit, except that he's existed for so long that I want him to be finished. I want him to be a thing. And if somebody comes to borrow costumes from our costume stock and happens to need a rabbit head, then we'll have one. And if nothing else, like, somebody could borrow it and go, like, play songs on their guitar in the quad and earn some extra money. I don't I don't have any reason to be making this fursuit head. But, you know, I mean, PM me if you want a rabbit head, I guess. Like, he doesn't belong to Playmakers yet. He's something that came from a professional development workshop that I went to all on my own. So I guess I could keep him and make him a mascot here at my house, that just sits around and looks like a decapitated Easter bunny trophy. I don't think so. Anyway, so the ear is prepped and ready to go into the head, and I need to cut my slot. So I am hoping to get this thing installed today, but I always have like the biggest hopes for these, for what I will achieve in these streams, and I am usually thwarted. So these scissors that I'm using here to cut my rabbit head Variform, these, they're Ginger brand, but you can buy this quality of scissor from a lot of different vendors. What's important about them is that they are my designated craft scissors, which means that I can use them to cut, in this case, a heavy canvas impregnated with thermoplastic. But I also at work will, you see this little tab that's riveted on here, that's like a patent leather strap that's then been riveted on. That's to indicate that you can use this to cut vinyl and leather and plastic and Variform and whatever else beefy, strange thing that you want. These are not the scissors that you use if you want to cut something like fine silk habitai or lightweight linen batiste. Like, that's, you need some fabric scissors for that. I'm not, though, a very militant fabric scissor person, and that's probably because I'm a crafts person, where majority of what I'm cutting is like this Variform thermoplastic casting mesh, and not working. I occasionally work with fine fabrics like a silk georgette or something, when I'm doing historical millinery, for example, or silk taffeta for a parasol canopy. I do have good fabric scissors, but these craft scissors are more my speed. I use them a lot more than I do other types of scissors. So usually if somebody picks up my scissors and cuts like an envelope open or whatever, I'm like, so those are craft shears. I've cut way worse things. I know that's sometimes a point of contention among costumers, is someone, let me show you what I did here. So can you see that little L-shaped hole now that exists in the rabbit head? So now I'm going to try to jam this ear down in it, which worked okay the other day. So I expect that it will probably work similarly good today. Oh, I think I showed you this last time, but there may be new people here. The rabbit ear has it's got a slit up it here, and it's now two flaps, and that's because when the ear goes inside the head and it bends at the little L shape, I'm going to have one of these that bends forward and one of these that bends backwards. So if it's like this, one's here and one's back like that, and that gives us two L shapes of the wire going in perpendicular directions to give the maximum stability to the base of this ear. Because if I put this head on, I mean, it's kind of weird right now with only one ear, but like, let's just live in a world where I'm dancing with a rabbit head on. I don't want that ear to lose its upright nature. I don't want it to droop, because in the theater you never want something unexpected like that to happen, because it's not replicatable. Like if it was a performance, an improv performance, then you would figure out how to work with that. But I want to have the most control over this ears. I don't. Okay. What I'm learning now is that I need to open up my slot for the ear by one more row of holes. I needed to cut it that much longer so that my ear shapes can fit in here. So, status report on corsetry in motion and streaming in a corset. I could do this every day, and it's not, like, if anything, it's giving me some great back support right now. I will say that, though, in the I have to own up to the fact that I am not a novice corset wearer. I own a number of different corsets, and I have for years, because I was goth in the 90s, and that was just kind of de rigueur. And I also, one of my jobs that I worked early on in my career, when I was at a job hierarchy level in the costume breakdown of jobs, I was like a stitcher or a wardrobe assistant, not a team leader, a team member, and a sort of a novice type of person. I couldn't pay the bills on that salary. I had to have another job. And the job that I had was nightclub DJ. And that was great. That was a fantastic extra job, because, I'd get off of work at the costume shop like 5 o'clock, go home, eat dinner, start getting dressed for the club at 7:30, put on a corset about 8 p.m., and then I wouldn't take it off until sometimes definitely 3 in the morning, as the club closed at 2:30, and then there's the time to travel back home. Or if I went to an after party, sometimes I was in this thing for like 10 hours. And yes, I was younger then, and those were crazy days, but whatever. My rabbit ear is now in place. My rabbit has 2 ears, y'all. Arlene suggests put the head on a wood wall mount, like a hunting trophy. Add antlers to make it a jackalope trophy. I love that idea, and not just because, but in addition to the fact that I have this rabbit, I also have a deer mask at work that is made in the same Variform full head enclosure way that has foam antlers I could steal. I mean, not steal. It is my mask. It was given to me by one of my students who just didn't want to cart it around. Let me put this on. So there's my rabbit head. You can see it really great on YouTube. And his ears are like flapping like he's about to fly away with them. So now you can see inside of here. I think you can see. Oh, you can see it good on IGTV. See if I can get it up there. You see how those pieces, the 2 pieces, create a stable shape inside of there. And but I have one more step to stabilize it, and it is 3:30. So I might actually be able to get this done in my time. My 45-minute stream, I might get it done. We'll see. The next step of this, ooh, that's exciting. What I did for the first ear, I had have that leg of the wire that I can bend, and I bent it into roughly a loop. So let's see, you can see what's happening with it if I put it up here. You see that round loop of wire now? So that's the one that's on the outside. There's another one on the inside on my first ear, not on my second ear, because I think it must have been the first ear I made and I didn't think about that idea until I got far enough to just add it to one side of it. Or maybe I just didn't see it coming, what I was going to do. I started this thing in 2008. Give me a break. Not that anybody's giving me a hard time about it. But so you see this needle? This needle is actually, it's got a huge eye. You can probably see through the eye there. It's got a huge eye, and it's usually something that one would use for stitching yarn. You know, as you're, like, I have this crochet mesh shirt over here that I'm sewing up the side seams, and I had been using this needle for that. But I'm using it for this with some heavy duty nylon thread. Because I wanted something really beefy to pull through this Variform mesh. You know, I wanted something that, like, I'm not stabbing myself with it, or I guess I could, that would be bad. And I have this awl that I'm using to puncture some holes as I need to with the through all layers of, I've got 2 layers of the foam and then a layer of the fur, and that worked really well the first time, so I'm trying it again. Got my awl. I'm gonna poke a hole. Got to make sure not to stab myself. I poked a hole, and now I'm pushing my big needle through that hole, and I'm taking a few stitches through and through with a double, like, it would be a high mark thread if I was in a costume shop. I think here in my home studio, I think it's just a buttonhole thread that I had lying around. And I'm stitching, it takes a lot of arm power to stitch through and through this stuff. I guess I could be more systematic about this, but what I'm doing right now is taking a few stitches. Oh, I lost my hole. Taking a few stitches, there we go, to just stabilize it around the Variform and make it into the most stable unit that I can, because at the end of the day, all this stuff is going to be completely covered, especially here behind the ears. You know, this is not an area of the head where visibility is an issue at all. Like nobody sees out the back of their head. So there will be the fur that I've ordered. I thought it might come in for the stream today, but it didn't. The fur that I've ordered will definitely cover the entire back of this head, and probably a considered area of the front. Like I need to leave some visibility here for the wearer, but I can figure that what I'm securing right now with these stitches around the wires and so forth, that's all going to be sandwiched between the Variform and the fur. So it needs to be stable, but it's not going to be nakedly exposed to the world and run a risk of being damaged. Like that's, no one's going to, once it's inside there, it's fine. You know, no one's going to see it, touch it, etc. Even though no one's going to see it, though, I have to admit, I don't love that my wire is like a little white coil behind his ear here. That kind of bothers me. So when I finished installing the first ear, let me take this stitch and then I'll show you. When I finished putting in the first ear, you won't be able to see the wire because it was white and I colored it with this pink magic marker, which this is what I have. It's a Crayola marker, which is water-based because little kids draw all over themselves and you don't want them to then be purple fingered for however long or whatever. At work, at the theater, what I would use is a pink Sharpie, but I do not have that here at home. I've been slowly acquiring equipment and materials since I've been working from home. But the fact of the matter is, like, I'm vaccinated now, and the theater is gonna come back soon. Well, this fall. And I'm not gonna necessarily need to have as much stuff as I currently would like to have, because I'll be able to work in my studio at work, which is such an exciting prospect. So grateful to be vaccinated and all that. Oh shit. I gotta poke a special hole here. One of the things that I did to secure the opening edge of this head, you know, where you put your head into the rabbit head, one of the things that I did was wrap the Variform around a millinery wire to really stabilize that opening so it wouldn't split open and rip apart and stuff as you were putting your head in and out of it. But I'm sort of running up against that as an undesirable element right now because I'm trying to sew right close to the edge where that wire is enclosed. And that's a challenge, but it's a challenge I'm ready to meet. I'm doing well. I am almost done with this thing, and it's only, 3:39? I'm going to finish it. I might not get the white wire colored pink, but I'm going to finish it. Corsetry in motion status, still fine. I mean, which is as I expected it to be. You know, I think I said I wore a corset sometimes 10 plus hours a day to work. It was not a big deal. You just don't suck it up really tight. You just don't tight lace it. You know, I'm not. It's not so much that it reduces your waist as it reshapes your body and shifts around the fat that you have around your waist, like it pushes it into the shape of the whatever the shape of the corset is. That becomes the shape of your body, because it is so sturdy. Um, and anyway, I am to the point that I'll just keep sewing. It's not gonna hurt anything for me to really reinforce this rabbit ear, because I'm not a performer, but I think if a performer gets their hands on this, the fact that the ears sort of flop and wiggle around, with the momentum of their, I guess it's their inertia, the body in motion wants to stay in motion. I have a feeling that quality of this is going to be really appealing for any performer who wears it. Oh, jamming all through one last place. So I want to really reinforce this, because I really would hate it if his ear came it's not going to become unattached because there's too much stuff on the back side of this, but it could droop in an undesirable fashion, and that would be uncool. Okay. I gotta stick it back up through itself so I can knot it off and be done. I'm thinking, I'm not going to do it on this stream, but I'm thinking that one thing that I will do is reinforce the stitches with glue, possibly super glue. If I don't have any super glue, it could be Elmer's, because it's going to be in between the layers of the fashion fabric, the fur, but ideally it would be super glue or E6000, but I can't remember what I have here. Tying one last knot and then I'm done. Then he's got ears. All right. Yes. My rabbit has ears. And I have such good visibility in this thing. I gotta tell you. Like, but see that motion right there that the ears are doing? They're like flapping. That's guaranteed. Like, any performer wearing this is going to really feature that and direct their motions to exacerbate that and make it something that is an entertaining element. I think that this guy is definitely sort of a comedic rabbit. Once he has hair, he won't look so much like a scary skinless dinosaur that he kind of looks like right now. But I'll fix his eyes. I think that'll help a lot. If he no longer has his creepy human eyes, like right now, he's very much like Watership Down. Like, anyway. Ooh, I want to color this pink before my stream ends. I've got a little bit left. 2 minutes, I think. So, hopefully by next week, by the next stream, I will have acquired the fur that is going to go on him, and I can begin finishing skinning the rabbit, which that sounds so horrifying. Oh, thanks, Kim. Kim is in YouTube today instead of only IGTV. It's great to see you. She says that looks so fun to wear. It is fun to wear. It definitely makes you want to bob your head so that the ears can do this little flapping effect that's happening. And hopefully I'll have the fur so I can skin the head, which that word sounds really kind of I have a visceral response to it of like, ugh, because like skinning a rabbit in life usually means you've killed it and you're removing its skin. But in a context of a rabbit head like this, a character head, a fursuit head, that's my alarm telling me to get off of my stream. Um, in this context, when you talk about skinning a character head or a fursuit head, that is patterning the foam that's going to be the outer layer. So even though it sounds so, if you have any sort of like, my grandfather was a hunter, he would shoot turkeys and rabbits, and so skinning a rabbit head is, my initial response is gross, no. But it's actually, it means he's going to be fuzzy and cute um, when I'm done with it. He'll probably be really alarming in that intermediate section where he has exposed veriform. And speaking of veriform, if any of you watch The Masked Singer, I don't want to spoiler it in case you haven't seen it and you want to, but they showed one of the characters' costumes on that, the visibility from the inside last night, and what the performer who had been wearing it, what sort of visibility they could see. And to me, it looked like it was not veriform, but the principle was the same, where it's a bunch of little holes in a scrim that then creates an opaque look for the viewer, but allows the person inside to see out. So that was exciting to see. It's time for me to stop my stream. Thank you so much for joining me today on my rabbit head finishing adventure. Next week, I'm going to try to, hopefully, I'll have the fur. We'll start putting skin on him. We'll start putting fur on him. And thank you so much for joining me. I'll be doing this every Thursday, I think, until I may have to stop the stream when the fall semester starts, or at least reschedule it because I'm teaching on site. Yay! So excited to be back and back with my students.